UCLA does not land that coveted top seed in the NCAA tournament. USC qualifies for March Madness for a third consecutive year. And what exactly led the Rams to trade Jalen Ramsey? Hi, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is March 13th, 2023. We added multiple new subscribers to the channel yesterday. Thank you for joining the Angelino familia. I appreciate every last one of you. If you like the content that we put out about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. I am back in Portland. This isn't pleasant. Feel free to say hi. So before we go through the news and notes, and we got some stuff to talk about, let's take a look at the scoreboard. D'Angelo Russell scored 33 points, but frankly, the Lakers blew it. They lost to the Knicks 112-108. If they had won that game, they would have hit 500 for the first time all year. They would have climbed up to the 7th seed. Instead, they are now tied for 9th, but they are tied for 9th in the Western Conference with 3 other teams. Due to tiebreakers, they're 11th. If the playoffs started today, they wouldn't even be in the play-in round. Meanwhile, LAFC, they took care of business big time. They defeated New England. They beat the hell out of them, is more like it, 4-0. Dennis Bouanga, 2 more goals and an assist. There are no games involving LA teams today. I was on the plane from home coming up to Oregon to work. I knew I was going to miss out on the March Madness bracket release. I did not realize, though, about the Rams trade. We've got tons to get to. I want to start off, though, with UCLA. They secured a number 2 seed and will face North Carolina Asheville in the first round in the Western Regional in Sacramento on Thursday. Now, look. A lot of us were under the impression that the Bruins deserved a number 1 seed. In the Western Regional, that went to Kansas. All things being equal, though. All things being equal. How much can you complain if you're a UCLA fan? They stay on the West Coast. They don't have to play their first round game when everybody else is having breakfast. USC, by the way, has to do that. We'll get to them in a moment. There's no way, by the way, that North Carolina Asheville is going to be putting an upset. So they have a pretty decent path to at least get to the Sweet 16. And that's even if they are without Bona along with Jalen Clark. They can be down 2 starters and still theoretically have a relatively simple path to the Sweet 16. UCLA will eventually miss Jalen Clark, but they are likely going to get Bona back in the starting lineup. At least that's the hint from Coach Mick Cronin. I've looked at the brackets. I'm not going to tell you how to fill brackets. I've never filled a bracket, to be frank. It's not my cup of tea. If UCLA was at full strength, I absolutely would like their odds to get to the Final Four. No doubt in my mind. I thought, and I still believe, that this team has Final Four potential. I think this team has Final Four potential even without Clark. But I think you start wondering about the Bruins' odds once they get to the Sweet 16. Because there they could face Gonzaga. Or even Kansas in the Elite 8. I mean, there are question marks definitely with both Gonzaga and with Kansas. But now, where there used to not be questions with UCLA, there are legit questions with the Bruins. Now, as for the game on Thursday, when they play Asheville, in all honesty, there's only one guy to watch on the other team, and that dude is Drew Pember. He's 6'11". He could have a big game if Bona isn't ready to go. But Cronin has got UCLA to a Final Four. He's got him to a Sweet 16. That's a pedigree, folks. That's a pedigree. This is not a guy who takes the first round lightly. I think he'll have them focused. Bill Plaschke of the LA Times in today's edition is calling it a, quote, ugly road to the Final Four. Well, you know what? I don't care if it's an ugly road. It's a doable road. It's a drivable road. UCLA still has a shot, so I wouldn't put it past them. As for the Trojans, before we go judging too hard on anything, the first thing that people need to understand is USC accomplished a goal that they really wanted to make in the first place. They wanted to qualify for the NCAA tournament for 3 years in a row. Mission accomplished. See, USC, as we all know, is a football school. It's extremely difficult for basketball coaches to recruit there. There have been some people who have had flashes of success there. But the idea for Andy Enfield is to be able to go to a recruit's house and say, look, I can consistently get you into March Madness where all the scouts are going to be there, everybody's going to know, and oh, by the way, we're playing in a better conference in a couple of years. That is an effective recruiting sales pitch, to say you will consistently get there. They've only reached the NCAA tournament for 3 straight years once before. Now, as for this year, they're going to face 7th-seeded Michigan State on Friday morning in the Eastern Regional. The Trojans have a chance to advance out of the first round. And that is not me being Mr. Local Hype Spewer. This is not me being the Flavor Flav of Trojans athletics. It's just that in every year since 2008, a 10th seed has upset a 7th seed. And by the way, USC would know they were that 7th seed at last year's tournament. They were upset. We're going to talk more in the coming days about this particular game, but at first glance, I would say the key for the Trojans on Friday is Boogie Ellis for 3 reasons. 1, he was scoring at a tremendous clip, over 22 points per game before the Pac-12 tournament disaster. 2, Michigan State walks the ball up the court. They slow the pace down. Boogie Ellis, if he plays with tempo, if he plays with pace, they can run him out of the gym. And 3, another reason that Boogie Ellis is a key is, what if he doesn't play well? When USC loses, it's either from 1 or 2 reasons. They didn't take care of the basketball, committing way too many turnovers, or they were terrible at defending the 3. Ellis is the point guard. If USC doesn't take care of the basketball, that's on him. Now, aside from that, both teams seem to be heavy on 2 guys when it comes to offense. With USC, that's Ellis and Drew Peterson. With Michigan State, that's Tyson Walker and Jay Hauser. And by the way, we mentioned how USC is vulnerable against effective 3-point shooters. Hauser is their outside sniper. He's the guy to watch out for. The winner of that game, by the way, will be playing Marquette versus Vermont. Let's be real, it's going to be Marquette, and I don't like anybody's odds against Marquette right now in that regional. I want to start off by talking about the Rams section of this broadcast by admitting that I underestimated the odds of Jalen Ramsey being traded. I want to be real with you. Most sports prognosticators never admit when they make a mistake. I like you guys. I don't like pretending I don't make mistakes. I screwed that up because nobody said, for the month that people said that the Rams were thinking about trading Jalen Ramsey, none of those prognosticators ever said, my sources have told me. They were just guessing. And the guessing not only was about Jalen Ramsey, but the guessing was about trading Aaron Donald. The guessing was about trading Cooper Kupp. The guessing was about trading Matthew Stafford. And I'm reading these things thinking these guys have no inside sources. They're full of crap. Well, about Jalen Ramsey, The Athletic actually did find Rams sources who said it was a possibility. So it was no longer guesswork. And it turned out to be reality. So let's talk about the trade that went down between the Rams and Miami Dolphins, which will be made official on Wednesday. The Rams are going to be sending Jalen Ramsey to Miami. By the way, when it became obvious that the Rams were trading Ramsey, Miami was my guess. You're welcome. But the Rams will get back a 3rd-round pick. That will be the 77th pick overall, and a backup tight end in Hunter Long. Now, at first glance, LA loses this trade. Got to be honest with you. LA loses. But why do it? If you know you're going to lose the trade, why do it? For that, we once again go to The Athletic. Ramsey wanted all the money on the back end of his contract guaranteed. None of us knew that until a couple of days ago. Now, if you're the Rams and you're $20 million over the cap and you're trying to restructure other people's contracts to try to work your way under the contract, under the salary cap, look over at the LA Chargers as an example. The LA Chargers, when they needed to get under the cap, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, a couple of wide receivers did it. I'm forgetting the names all of a sudden. Keenan Allen did. All to go make sure that the Chargers got under the cap. Jalen Ramsey would not play ball with the Rams. And by the way, I don't necessarily blame Jalen Ramsey. He signed a contract. He wants the money. Wouldn't you? So he didn't play ball. Had the Rams guaranteed the money on the back end of the contract, they would be in cap hell for the duration of it. So in other words, again, where the Chargers had players willing to restructure, Ramsey would not play ball with the Rams. That is what necessitated this trade. So the Rams now have 3 picks in the first 3 rounds, although none of them are in the first round. There's a second rounder and 2/3. They will have 11 draft picks overall unless they wind up making another trade. They need to hit their top 3 picks. In other words, those 3 picks need to be starters. I don't know necessarily where they would go. If it were me, off the top of my head, I would probably use a second rounder on either a cornerback or an edge rusher, and then probably come back and fill the offensive line with the 3rd rounders. But that's just me thinking off the top of my head. There will not be a very good Rams defense next year. It just won't be any good, particularly against San Francisco. Why? Because the 49ers run the football. LA got rid of their 2 best run defensemen in that Jalen Ramsey was arguably the best run defender in the NFL, not just as a cornerback, but of all NFL defensemen. And of course, inside linebacker Bobby Wagner. So they're not going to be able to stop the Niners' run next year. Also, LA right now is way too young at defensive back. You're looking at those 2. If they don't re-sign Troy Hill, their starting defensive backs are going to be 2 picks from 2022, Kobe Durant and Darian Kendrick. Second-year players as starters. And a 3rd potential nickelback is a 2021 pick in Robert Rochelle. That's extremely young. You're asking Aaron Donald basically to make up what everybody else is lacking in run defense, in pass defense. That is a big ask, even for an all-time great like Aaron Donald. The remodel is going to look like this overall. This year, those 11 picks are going to be used to just overhaul the depth and possibly improve the offense. We mentioned that a few days ago in a clip about the LA Rams. So all these picks this year to fill the depth, and then in 2024, they're going to be under the cap. They will have regular draft picks, and that's when they reload. So in other words, they stink this year, and then they reload for next. That apparently is the plan. Finally, let's go back to the trade rumors. No, they are not trading Aaron Donald. No, the same for Matthew Stafford. Les Snead described those 2 and Cooper Kupp as, quote, weight-bearing walls to the house, so to speak. If anyone else gets traded on the Rams, the first person to look at is wide receiver Allen Robinson. They told him to seek a trade if he wanted one. I got one more thing to say about the Rams. You'd let me know what you think about the trade. But Tampa Bay is interested in replacing Tom Brady with Baker Mayfield. Yeah, they lost both Brady and Blaine Gabbert. The only quarterback on the Tampa Bay roster right now is a 2nd-round pick from Florida, Kyle Trask. So they definitely need somebody with a little bit more experience. Baker Mayfield is probably not coming back to LA. Dustin May of the Dodgers said he feels close to his pre-surgery self. Yesterday, he struck out 7, allowed just 2 hits and a walk in 4 innings. He's pitched 8 2/3 innings in spring training so far and has allowed just 1 run. Now, he added that he was able to have a normal offseason, focusing on recovery, not recovery from surgery. That's rehab. There's a difference between recovery from a season and rehab, obviously. Dustin May said when you're rehabbing, you are always throwing. He called it a grind. For every single day for 15 months, the guy was doing something strenuous with his arm. He probably had a dead arm. Greg Vanney said Chicharito and Douglas Costa will return to train for the Galaxy this week. That doesn't mean they're going to be playing in the home opener this weekend, by the way. And speaking of the home opener, supporters groups have tweeted that there will be a protest in Legends Plaza prior to that home opener at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday. Now, Legends Plaza is the area where they have the statues of Landon Donovan and David Beckham at Dignity Health Sports Park. The protest is asking for massive change in the Galaxy front office, specifically targeting team president Chris Klein as a result of 10 years of mediocrity and a cheating scandal. Also, by the way, just because they're boycotting outside the stadium, the supporters groups are not going in. They are trying to make their point by not spending money on the Galaxy. And it's going to be interesting because it's very strange. The team has apparently drawn a line in the sand on a known... I can't say he's a known cheater. That's not fair. But he took part in a cheating scandal on some level. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Let me know what you think about USC and UCLA's chances in March Madness. Let me know what you think about Jalen Ramsey. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Corte El Queso production. Take care.